Sorry about that. It's a smaller room in the other room, and usually my voice projects, but maybe not today. To start over, my name is Colleen Ostagai. I have been in the organization about 5 years. I am now the first vice president. I've slowly, or quickly, I guess, however you want to think about it, worked my way up through the organization. And it's been a very interesting process, primarily because I was confused about how to manage a meeting. I'm a librarian by trade. I work at Albany Law School in Albany, New York. And as librarians, we like to compartmentalize things. We like everything to be organized. We have the Dewey Decimal System. We have classifications. So managing things and making sure that they run properly makes me very happy. I think the number one thing to make a meeting run effectively and be organized is to please have an agenda. I can't stress that enough. Without an agenda, people have a tendency to talk about a lot of different things, and you actually don't get anything accomplished. I'm a big fan of it. Even in my own work environment, I always ask, is there going to be an agenda at this meeting? Can I add something to this agenda? And if you have an agenda, please, please, please make sure that you have time limits on things. Again, people have a tendency to talk about 50 different things that maybe you don't want to talk about at this meeting. You can very politely say, that's a great thing to talk about, let's table it for the next meeting. Let's talk about it at the next meeting. Really, I can't stress that enough. So please have an agenda. Please, if you can, also in some way, shape, or form, record your meetings. We all have fading memories. I probably can't tell you what I just said 5 seconds ago, let alone 10 minutes ago. So it's good to have your meetings recorded because it'll actually make you better. It'll make you better about, again, managing your meeting, being a bit more professional. But again, if you don't remember what happened, because it can be very crazy during a meeting, my suggestion is, again, to have it recorded, have a recording secretary, make sure that he or she, again, this is for any organization, firmly understands their duty, because any motions that are made, any changes that are made are important for you to understand how to progress the organization forward, but also for some sort of archival standpoint. I'm actually going to let Sue Fail now talk, hello Sue, about the role of the parliamentarian. This is a very essential and key role in an organization for the president and actually for everyone because, again, depending upon the organization, he or she actually keeps the ball rolling along with the president. So here is Sue Fail.
Thank you. The role of the parliamentarian. All right, it's that crazy person who sits up there and makes comments and stuff like that. First of all, the parliamentarian is someone who assists the president in leading this meeting. The parliamentarian helps interpret the bylaws of the organization and then make sure that the group, if it's a board meeting for instance, follows their own rules. Bylaws are, I don't want to get off too much on this, but in our organization, we're a membership organization, the members are in charge, not the board. It's the members. And they make the rules, and they're called bylaws. The bylaws are the restrictions the members put on the leadership. And most organizations think they're the restrictions we want to put on the members, but it shouldn't be. So what the parliamentarian normally is doing is assisting the president in running the meeting, could assist a group such as an executive committee for them on how to handle a large meeting like a special meeting, something along those lines. The parliamentarian has no opinion. The parliamentarian should not be a member of the group. However, in most cases that's just not practical because you're not going to pay me $1,000 a weekend to come here and do this, which I do get from other groups when I do it in both. But So technically, I have to agree that I give up my right to vote and my right to speak in order to be the parliamentarian. This is somewhat new. There's a new version of Robert, and Robert is being very explicit about this. Now, the reason is very simple. If I don't belong to this group, I don't care what you do. If I do belong, I could care. I might not think that's a good idea, for instance. Well, if I'm working with the Girl Scouts, I don't care what the Girl Scouts do. I don't care if they take in 6-year-olds and 7-year-olds and 8-year-olds. So I have no vested interest. That's why the parliamentarian normally is not a member of the group. It's your locals that would be totally impractical, so it's usually just someone who... Are there any questions on the role? Right.
Do you have a formal education for that, or did you self-teach yourself?
Pretty much so. I self-taught myself. One of the advantages is Robert was rewritten about 15 years ago, maybe. Robert originally is English, British. It's a why we call the question. Everybody goes, what the heck is that? What it is British, English. Makes no sense to us because we don't call a motion a question, and we don't call it. But anyway, so now this is in much easier English, and you can get much smaller versions of it. There also, I belong to a national organization. I take an exam, and after I pass the exam, then I am certified for a period of years. I also have to pay dues to that group and everything, so it's like anything else. But you can also, I also do training programs for it. And, but can anyone learn Robert? Yes. Should you? Yes. What I did a few minutes ago in the other room, I like Kellogg's, but I don't like corn flakes. You know, I like carrots, but I don't like peas. Okay.
What?
You don't know what I'm doing, huh? How about that? Why can't you play? What do I like?
Carrots.
Carrot. What else?
Like Kellogg's.
Well, what's something else I like? You're running out. My point is what? My point is, if you don't know the rules, you can't play the game. And then I'm in charge. Which is why it's important, particularly if professionally, you have to go to certain kinds of meetings and public meetings and things like that. Learning Robert can be one of the best, because the purpose of Robert is to give everybody the same rules. Now, I will make one place, and that it doesn't always happen, and that's your local council, your local county legislature, your senate.
Forget government.
And, right, because government, first of all, they make up their own rules, and second of all, they don't follow them. But I can assure you that when they make up the rules, that it's for their benefit. You will recall yesterday that we had standing rules for the special meeting, and we had a different set of rules for the board meeting. Those rules is that the group itself said, this is how we're going to do it. And in that case, it was to make sure in the special meeting, the rules included opportunities for the members to speak. Now, at a board meeting, normally members could never speak because they're not part of the board. Unless there's a special rule that says if the board, with approval of the board, that someone could speak. And we want to make sure that was in there. We also have limits on how long you can speak and stuff like that, which the group can change at any time. But those are the rules. But getting back to Robert is just a general kind of thing. The agenda is absolutely critical. So, and as I said, I think the bylaws are the rules of the members and the leadership. It is not what the leadership is telling the members to do. But that often happens you don't realize. The power group in this organization is members, not the board. All the way back to your local chapter. So, bylaws are amended through the board of directors here in these particular bylaws. So it's got to go to the board. That's why yesterday it all went to the board and then it went to the members meeting. And the reason is because the way the bylaws are written and agreed to by the members have agreed that the board will decide first. And then it'll come to the members. The members have the power to change that whenever they want. And the requirements for changing the bylaws require notice. And it also requires notification to every member. Because you can't change the rules without the members' knowledge. Okay, that's why we have a special meeting. But you had to know about it ahead of time. We couldn't do anything at the special meeting that we had told you we weren't going to do ahead of time. You know, if someone came up with a bylaw change, told, you know, that we're going to do away with the officers, you know, we couldn't deal with that because it hadn't been announced ahead of time. In a special meeting, the agenda has to be conveyed to all the members ahead of time. And the reason we had it was we wanted to change the bylaw. But it had to go through the board first because that's what it says. And then it went to the members. And that's why we did it twice yesterday. And everybody's going, why are we doing this again? And we've also, if we get it out there early enough, there are ways so that we don't read every solitary word twice, which we've done in some of these meetings. You want to talk about the MOI?
Actually, I would like to let Mary Scully just have a little talk about finance first. I think that's very important.
Hi, I'm Mary Stelly. I'm your current state treasurer, and I'm also manager of a $50 million Guana Area Federal Credit Union. First thing, don't be afraid to step up and be your local treasurer. Let somebody mentor you for that position. Look to former treasurers, people that you know maybe possibly in other organizations, and let them mentor you. And then you can move on to the district level, which is just a little bigger, and then possibly be our state treasurer. Okay, look for that mentor. Remember to make monthly reports to your chapter. You're the watchdog of the funds, so you need to monitor your budget. Make sure you make timely deposits. When members pay you by check, they want their checks to clear promptly. Okay, make sure that you do prompt renewal of dues at the state level, because if you don't, if you get a check in and then don't send it in for 3 months, you're not really a current member. If your chapter has liability insurance with New York State limit, make sure you pay that invoice when it comes. The year starts June 6th and goes to the following year. The current invoices have not yet been produced. We're waiting for the audit of the last 2 years to be completed, so we know the accurate amount that you actually owe, not the amount that they estimated you owe, okay? Make sure your members' information is accurate on the website. If you can't get onto the website to check your information, have somebody in your chapter, your treasurer, your president, correct that information. It's important to have information on the database. Make sure your chapter's books are annually audited. It's easy for any of us to make a mistake, and that's where you can find out that possibly somebody paid their dues in November, but the treasurer, somehow that slipped through the cracks, and she's really not a member at the state level. She's just a member of your local. And minutes are important because the auditors, whether it's the state level, whatever level, they look at those minutes to see if what you did was approved, okay? And don't be afraid to step up. It isn't that hard. I know many people are afraid to be either treasurer or president, whatever organization you're in, but it's a learning process. And there's always many people that are in your chapter or any organization to help you along the way. Thank you.
Okay, so, thank you, Mary. That was great. Thank you, Sue. I kind of threw this all at you, and you've done a phenomenal job, both of you. Thank you very much. What does MOI stand for? I know some people are shaking their head. My first meeting, there were so many acronyms. And I was, what? MOI? What is this MOI? Moi? I mean, is it French? Manual of Instruction, correct. The bylaws are extremely important. You need to have them, obviously. But it is a manual of instructions that actually tells us what we need to do and how to do it. How many have actually looked at the MOI? Actually, quite a few people. How many know where the MOI is located on the website? Okay, good. Now you know. So Renee has gone over that. Yay! That's good. Members only section. The MOI is a work in progress. The MOI committee is still kind of amending, changing some of the things that need to get done. And it is slowly getting done, and they're doing a phenomenal job doing it. But if you have any questions about, let's say you're interested in becoming treasurer or secretary or whatever position it might be good for you to look at kind of what these people do to firmly understand what might be expected of you, and to not be so frightened and say, I don't know if I can do this position. The other thing is that the toolkit's very important. A lot of forms, our basic motion form is on there. I think a travel reimbursement form is on there. A lot of things that people say, where can I find this? You know, where is it? The MOI is there. If you look at the MOI and you think that any changes, again, need to be addressed or changed or you're confused about, please do not hesitate to, contact your chapter president, your regional director, or even contact any of the officers. I think people feel if they're members and they're not part of, some sort of leadership role, that they can't contact the officers directly. I encourage you to contact any of us directly, and I think I can speak for everyone in saying that. I don't want someone to be scared to contact any of us. No question is stupid. No question is too much. Even if it's just, to complain about something we've done. Criticism, I don't love it, but it's important for you to, again, if you're going to manage the meeting, to really become accustomed to, because that's how you learn. And, Colleen Till in her previous presentation talked a lot about mentoring. And I think everyone in this room can be a mentor to me, and can mentor all of you too. Don't just assume that because they've done it in the past, they don't want to talk to you for the future. Because they might know how to manage the meeting better, or might give you a few tips and tricks that you really can learn from. We all can't know it all. So look at some of the people in this room, and if you feel as though you have some sort of contact or connection with them, again, please feel free to talk to them. Is there any questions about the MOI? Because again, for the longest time, I was very confused about what role it placed, I guess, in managing the meeting. Yes, ma'am.
I think another way to look at the MOI is to call it policy and procedures, because in most companies it's called your P&P manual, your policy and procedures manual, and it is a working document. It is a document that needs to be changed periodically through the process that we have in place. So it's nothing to be afraid of. It is something to use as a guideline. And when you have questions about anything, as Colleen said, please check with people who can help you interpret or give you approval for the direction you want to take things in.
And it's actually quite beneficial for offices of the organization for something to point to, because obviously we can't know it all, and that's why the manual of instruction, or again, really that set of guidelines is important. I needed to do something for strategic planning, and I did not realize that it was actually included in the MOI. It's something that I need to look at a lot more closely to get some basic information about. So is there any questions about MOI, or more importantly about how to effectively manage a meeting that any of us can address, either Sue or Mary or myself?
Somebody's the expert.
Yeah, I guess so. No, that's good. Go ahead, yes.
Just this is probably on the lines of tricks and tools,
Mhm.
but if you're running a meeting and you find that somebody's getting off track and talking more than, it's going to take you off the timeline, maybe some polite ways to, how do you shut them off?
You know, I constantly, that's a very, very, very good point. I think you really, oh, time's up. Oh, yeah. Actually, that is very good. Whoa, we only have 30 seconds for you. No, I'm kidding. You do have to keep some sort of timeline. That's why, and actually I forgot to say this, a timekeeper is important. But you also don't want to be rude at the same time. I think you have to interrupt in a very polite fashion. You know, thank you. I'm going to just give you Sue. Thank you, Sue. Your points are very well taken, but can we, can we get back to the agenda? Can we get back to the issue at hand? Why don't you talk to me about this outside, or we can address this at another point in time. And if someone takes offense to it, you have to apologize, but at the same time, that's why an agenda is important and a timekeeper, yes.
One thing you can do to prevent a meeting from going off on tangent is when somebody says something along the lines of, I think we ought to do that. You say, would you put that in a motion? And they usually go, oh, I didn't do that, wait a minute. That's it. Because you at a meeting shouldn't be talking about anything but what you put in a motion. That you're there to make decisions. It's not to chit chat on whether the picnic has hamburgers or hot dogs or whatever. Let someone do that. So the other thing you can do is tell people, I just did this because I became president of a group that's all over the place. So the very first meeting I took president, I said, 1, we have an agenda. We're going to stay with the agenda. 2, you bring up an idea, I'm going to ask you to do a motion. And 3, if you say something that is out of order, I am going to tell you it's out of order. Now, I said to him ahead of time, don't be offended by this. Normally what I say is, that's out of order at the moment. Please wait until we get to new business, or whatever it is. Please wait until we get to the report from the treasurer, whatever the issue is that's out of order at this point. And that's the way you can. But in some places, when you take over leadership, tell them what you're going to do ahead of time. I'm not here to embarrass you, but that happens to be out of, because people want to be in order, but they don't, many people don't, they don't know Robert, they don't know what you're doing, so you help them along through it, because your goal isn't to embarrass them, but your goal is also to stick to what's on the agenda, and if we have time at the end, we'll talk about the picnic you'd like to have, but at the moment, that's not our, important thing. Any other questions? That's a good question.
Well, I was just going to say how I handle it, and I will do one of the 2 things I already suggested. I will say, would you like to put that in a motion? But I do not stop. I do not take a breath. I have my agenda in front of me, and I say, thank you, Susie Q. I appreciate your comments going to the line before, and I don't skip a breath. I don't let them start talking again. I just keep right on going, because I run my meetings like a Gatling gun. And I just keep going, and if they get off tangent, it's thank you, or, well, do you want to put that in a motion? Do you want to take that up at the next meeting? I just keep right on going. Do not stop and take a breath and let them get back in.
I handle it pretty much in the same way, I only have one member that usually does this regularly.
Only 1 or 2.
So I immediately put her in charge of that committee.
Absolutely. You want to do that? You want to chair it? We're going to have the best picnic, and I don't care if it's potato salad or German potato salad.
She will not do anything.